one of the key characteristics of the COVID pandemic was the overstatement of both the infection rate and the death toll. As early as August 2020, even the New York Times was admitting that the PCR test upon which the entire pandemic facade was built was hopelessly inaccurate. It said, quote, up to 90% of people testing positive carried barely any virus, unquote. Yet our politicians stood up at news conferences every day for years, spouting the latest statistics drawn from these PCR tests as if they logically justified the unprecedented shutdown of Australian society, locking us in our homes and shutting down our businesses and schools. And of course, if a posthumous test on a recently deceased person came back positive, then bingo, that person was recorded as having died of COVID, even if the main cause of death was something as unrelated and infinitely more fatal as gunfire, as happened in one famous case in New Zealand. Well, now the opposite is happening with Australia's excess mortality statistics, where the media was morbidly obsessed with the case numbers and casualties from COVID throughout 2020 and 2021, they now prefer to talk about the voice to Parliament or climate change than the people who are actually dying thanks to the diktats of our sick health bureaucrats. But if you can't rely on news from News Corp, the ABC, 9 newspapers or the rest of the media to tell you about it, you can rely on the website of Insurance Business Australia to report these disturbing facts. Last week it said, under the headline, excess deaths continue to skyrocket in first half of 2022, it said, quote, excess deaths for the 6 months to June 2022 totalled over 11,200, 13% more than predicted, according to the Actuaries Institute's latest data, unquote. These are excess deaths, meaning more than usual. They break down to 61 more Australians dying per day during the first 6 months of this year. As for the causes, the Actuaries Institute attributes about half to the actual COVID virus, but it doesn't say what methodology it uses to calculate this. As we all learned during the pandemic, the most vulnerable to the virus were old, overweight, or had other serious medical conditions. But the most alarming figures are for the remaining causes. Ischemic heart disease, which is short for shortage of blood supply to the heart, had an extra 900 deaths in the first 6 months of this year. And deaths which had no specified cause by a doctor, there were an extra 2,430 of those.